Well, it's July the 6th, 1993, Joanne's birthday. And in about a half hour, we're going to take off our two boats, departing the Cumberland River from Nashville, Tennessee, and head on a 3,200-mile trip up the Ohio River and its contributaries. Joanne and I will be following just real shortly now. We're going to be running a 19-foot Story and a 21-foot Chris Craft today. We'll average about 35 miles an hour on the water. There's one of Reggie's better views. He's obviously anticipating our trip. We're departing downstream on the Cumberland River. It's an exciting day. We don't know what lays in front of us, but we know that there'll be a lot of pretty scenery. Smell the smoke of the two-cycle engine. Smoke as they do, they run mighty fine. We're getting close now.
Well, thank you. No, that's okay. David's down here taping me in my sweat condition. He brought the movie camera. He's taping the trip. Yes! Yes! He wanted to take our trip up, the weekend. And they forgot the camera. Yes! Forgot it. Okay, Lee's wishing me a happy birthday. Okay, Rob, keep in touch. Oh, I'm so sorry. Don't sound too happy when you call Pam. Uh-huh. Oh, well, that made her day.
So we're about to take off. Everybody's loosen lines. The engines are going to be started up here in a few minutes. We'll go down here and see if the hills are ready. Are we ready there, Hills?
Yes, we're ready now, Mr. Etzel. We're about to depart on this adventure up the great Ohio River and its contributaries.
Let's fire up our engines and get going.
Oh, let's go.
There's Gene.
Yes.
Are you ready to go, Gene? Engines fire. And we're off. Now that's wide angle and telephoto. Push the wide as far as it goes. Can you see anything out there? See, that's wide, and that's telephoto. Okay,
The only
wide.
thing I see is your arm.
Well, it's all right.
Okay, that's wide.
That's wide angle, and the other's telephoto. All right, now feel your thumb way over, all the way over to the edge.
Okay.
Don't push it, just feel it. There's a red button there.
Oh.
Now it'll say record on the bottom when it's actually recording.
Okay.
Is it say record on the bottom? Okay, so you're recording.
That's a shame.
Yeah, you pushed the button, didn't you?
Okay, so
Okay.
I turn it off.
Well, just leave it run. Step back there. And we're going to get started here. Sounds like Reggie's anxious to go.
It's blurry.
Don't worry about it. not working. Okay, we're going to cast the lines off. I think we're ready to go. I heard the genie or two. She's already pulled out, I think. Okay, well, we say goodbye to Raider Cove and we're on our way to the Upper Ohio River. Beautiful day, not a cloud in the sky. Bound to have some rain though. Genie are out there waiting on us. Oh, that sun's bright.
Turn it off.
Get the red button off. Push the red button so it doesn't say record.
No.
Push the red button. Oh, there we go.
Vehicle standby 16. Don't put this CDR cleared over here on the table.
Okay, GDR has contacted the lockmaster for us, and he said he'll get her ready for too long. So we'll just be sitting here waiting on those gates to open up. While we're waiting, we'll get our ropes ready. Most locks require you to wear life vests when you go through. So we'll have to get our life vests on before we get through there. Get our bumpers down so we don't scratch our boat. Chamber. A lot of people get a little bit apprehensive going into the locks, and they can be a little bit scary. Go through as many as we have, why you won't think so much of it. If you look over there, you can see the lock. The gates are closed right now. You see a red windsock up there, which helps mariners tell which way the wind's blowing. May not be able to see it, but right now there's a red stoplight up there blinking, which says that we have to stay away from the lock. I don't see any traffic anywhere, any other boats, so I presume they're just filling the lock up so we can, so they can open the doors for us. We're about 50 feet above the lower river. So once we get into the lock chamber, we'll be lowering ourselves down, or they'll be lowering us down about 50 feet before they can open the lower gates, and we can head on out into the Cheatham Pool. This is the Old Hickory Pool up here. When we get down below, we'll be in the Old Hickory tailwater. We'll head downstream to the Cheatham Lock and Dam. This part all the way over in here is the dam itself, the hydroelectric plant, and they dump water through there to make electricity for the Tennessee Valley Authority project that was started back in the 30s. Theoretically, there was supposed to be inexpensive electricity, but something went awry on that one, I guess. Anyway, these are dangerous waters in front of the dam, and we don't want to get too close over there, so I better kick us around a little bit. Alongside. Well, Captain, what'd they say?
That'd be about 10 minutes.
Good. Okay, we got the gates coming open. In a few minutes they'll be open all the way, and we'll get a toot. And when that happens, we'll be able to go on into the chamber. At this point in time, it looks to me like the chamber's empty. Coming around, she's gonna head on in first, I guess. We haven't got the toot yet, but we should get it here any minute. Okay, we got the toot. Watch our wake. Not allowed to have a wake as we come through here. that's about it. Shut the engines down. Back over there and you'll see the gates closing. Yeah, going closed. Now what we want to note here is the height of the wall. Remember, we're up on the upper part, at the upper pool level right now. There are the gates that we'll be going through when they open them up. You can see the GNR sitting up there ahead of us. As they start to dump the water, we'll start lowering down, and these walls will get to be quite a canyon when we get to the bottom. What you're looking at here is a floating bit. These bits are what you tie up to. You saw me tie up to it just a minute ago. They actually float up and down the wall, so as the water comes down, the bits float down with you. So all you have to do is tie off on them and then watch your rope, because sometimes they hang up. And if they hang up, you're tied off too tight, well, obviously, you may be up and the water may be down. These are very modern locks up through here, and actually very deep locks. You get up on the upper Ohio and the upper Mississippi River, the locks are not nearly as deep nor as big. And a lot of times they don't have floating bits, and you have to work your way from bit to bit up or down the wall as you go. Or for small craft, a lot of times they just throw a rope over and you hang on to the end of it. Matter of fact, some of the real old locks we'll see on this trip, they'll pass us a hook. We'll give them the rope. They won't even furnish a rope. You can see by the water line on the wall that we've already dropped maybe 6 or 8 feet. Oh, he's really dumping it fast now. Almost like an elevator. I don't know when I've ever dropped this quick in this lock. The lock doors looking upstream here are bowed or too big. In other words, they can't come all the way in. These doors would open out toward the lake that we just come off of, and they butt together, and the pressure of the water below on the other side of them forces them closed. So there's no chance that the lock doors could accidentally come open and let the water rush in. So right up there where you see the silver, and at the bottom of the silver is the lake level above us as we go down into this lock. Well, we're way down in the canyon now, probably getting close to the very bottom. Those will be the gates we'll be going through here just as soon as these reach the lower water level. They'll be opening up. We'll get another toot and away we go. water you see draining around the door isn't coming from the other side, because the other side the water isn't as high as the water level is in here. So the water you see there is just draining out of the door. Just water that was trapped inside the door is now spurting out of it. Okay. Doors are opening. Now we made good time on this lock. We'll be out of here in 5 minutes. As the doors open, you can see the Old Hickory tailwater and the beginning of a Cheatham pool. This water down here fluctuates in level quite a bit. When they're dumping water, the river will rise 3-4 feet sometimes. And when they quit making electricity, the water goes down. There's been many a mariner trapped on a sandbar just because he happened to be there anchored at the time they quit dumping water through the hydroelectric plant. I've been there myself. We'll hear the toot here in just a second, which will indicate we can depart. Until we hear that, we stay tied up with our life vests on. There it is. There we go. Yeah, we got to get the rope loose. Push out a little bit. Away we go, getting out of the lock. The lake's 50 feet above us. Our next stop will be Rock Harbor. Interestingly enough, when we hit Rock Harbor, we'll have done about 60 miles of our 3,000. We started out on the east edge of Nashville and traveled through this lock. When we get to Rock Harbor, we'll have gone 60-some miles and we'll only be to the west edge of Nashville. That's how much these rivers snake around. 30-minute car ride, but more like a 3-hour boat ride. Work our way out here. We run across the fishermen. They're almost always out here. Somebody said the fishing is better in the tailwaters below a dam. Lock's behind us now, getting ready for other traffic wanting to go either up or down as we say goodbye to Old Hickory Pool. and lock and dam. Hey, looky here what we've run across. This is a General Jackson. She hails out of Opryland down here. Takes excursions up and down the river. We passed her dock a little bit ago, and I thought maybe we might run into her up here since she wasn't at dock. A lot of tourists this time of year. Come down here to enjoy Opryland and ride the General Jackson on the Cumberland River. It's an old stern wheeler. She can kick up a lot of water behind her. She's just running real slow right now. Yeah, we're starting to go across her wake now. This is nothing. She was really churning. Ahead of us is Nashville. We'll be going right through the city. On downtown wharf. Then on to our gas stop. The city we're looking at Hugo's restaurant at the Hyatt Regency. It's a little round revolving restaurant. A lot of work going on up in Nashville. Bridge companies, barge manufacturers. It's been real quiet on the river though today. We haven't seen any barges at all. In fact, the only traffic we've seen was the General Jackson. Some of the houseboats, small craft on docked. They like to come down here and dock, spend a little time, walk up on the Lower Broad, and enjoy the city. This ship you're looking at here, which looks like a paddle wheel, is actually a restaurant. Well, we got some traffic ahead of us. There's a barge full of gravel. I don't know where he's headed. We'll have to watch him. Of course, they're doing some unloading on the right here. we've made it to Rock Harbor Marina, our first gas stop. I think the thing used to be an old stone quarry. I guess that's why they call it Rock Harbor. But it's one of the biggest marinas in the upper part of the Cheatham Pool. And it's West Nashville. Just about 40 minutes from where we started. But we've been on the river now for a couple, 3 hours. That beeping you hear is my depth sounder. It's not real deep in here. Deep enough for us, but not deep enough to keep my warning horn from going off.
Yeah.
We'll end up doing this about 3 or 4 times a day, getting gas. We've had to make sure that there's gas at each of our stops, which means you call ahead and check them out. We'll use a little under 1,000 gallons by the time we get back each.
Where are you headed?
All the way up to the headwaters of the Ohio. And all the contributaries. We got figured out about 3,000 miles, 76 lots.
Super. Good way to spend the month of July.
That's right what we're going to do.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we did get ourselves some reservations in the hotels along the way. Drive kind of like pump station way. Not get gas, we'll spend the night, have dinner, drive.
Wish I could join you.
Alrighty, we're heading out again, departing Rock Harbor and heading on downstream to our final stay tonight, which will be at Barkley Dam and Marina. Still on the Cumberland River. Jeannie R gets ready to bring her up. Okay, here we are. We're trying to get this thing to run.
That's all this thing's up. Does that look good?
Yeah. Well, you know, on every little trip, a little rain must flow. But this was fairly minor. Probably a water temperature sensor malfunction. We just clipped the wire and heading on now if we can just get the cover back on. One thing about these river trips, you better know how to fix things as you go. Nobody out here to save you.
Down in the bag, right? Snipped the bar.
Hanging up.
Yeah, if you can't fix it, you just tear it apart.
All right.
Okay, Captain.
We're ready to go.
Okay, let's do it. Okay. Well, we made it to the Cheatham Lock and Dam. So I'm going to call them, see if they'll let us through. Good evening, 6610, Little John to Cheatham Lock, Cheatham. on to Cheatham Lock. Cheatham Lock. Sometimes they don't answer right away. They're outside the building. So we'll give them a little time. They don't want to answer this morning. Must be lunchtime. Yep.
That's it, Dave. They're eating lunch. They don't mess around.
Yeah. You heard me broadcast, didn't you? You heard my... Okay. As long as my radio's working.
Yeah, you're ready.
Not actually necessary to have a radio to be able to get through the locks. As a matter of fact, there's a cord up there next to the lock wall that you can pull, which rings a bell, and or a whistle of some kind. But generally, they'd rather that you'd use a radio if you have one. That way they can tell you what they want you to do. Well, we haven't been able to get Cheatham to answer, but they're pulling, raising the pool up now, or the chamber up now. You can just see the top of a towboat coming into view over top of the lock walls there. See him right up there. So they'll be opening up the gates here for too long. We'll have to get out of the way so he can get out of there, and then I expect they'll take us down. So we're not doing too bad. Okay. Gates are coming open. And we can see the top part of the tug as we look above the gate doors. And now we can see the towboat in there patiently waiting to come out. As soon as he's clear, we'll probably get to go in. Okay, there's our towboat working his way out of the lock. We'll be heading in for long. Big as he looks, he's still a fairly small towboat. When we get up on the higher river, we're going to see a lot bigger ones. Turbulence kicked up by those big props that's underneath there. No place to be in a small boat off there. Okay,
we're going to pass through this, the Cheatham lock, into the Barkley Pool. The procedure will be much the same as the last lock we passed through.
Well, we're running here along just above Clarksville, Kentucky. We left Tennessee and this old string of houseboats, boat docks, gas barges, been here since the as long as I've ever run this river. Sometimes it's an important spot for us because we have to get gas here in order to make it on up to Rock Harbor if we're going the other way, or down to Bumpus Mills if we're going this way. But we're carrying a lot of fuel, so today we don't have to get gas now until we get to our place of lodging.
All of these rivers east of the Mississippi have much in common. Here you're looking at a light marker on the right bank. There are light markers and day markers all along the rivers. They help us find our place on a river chart, as well as to guide us both day and night in order to keep our vessel in the river channel. That is important so as not to run aground. There are also floating channel markers showing the river channel. Red ones are called nuns, N-U-N-S. I don't think they're Catholic, however. And black or green ones are called cans. The rule is red right returning, meaning if you are returning to land, or in the case of a river going upstream, then you must pass the red nuns off to your right. Black or green cans to the left. Today we're going downstream, so the red nuns are on our left. A few moments ago, you saw a black can off to our left, which is wrong. So you still have to be careful. Sometimes these cans or nuns break loose from their mooring and float off to the wrong location. So if you are not watching your chart, you could make a mistake and go on the wrong side and run aground. There's the GNR running behind us. We've run about 125 miles. Another 60 miles to go before we can bed down for the night.
Yeah, the GNR just gave us a call, and she needed to stop to do something. I'm not sure what. We'll kind of motor over there and see what she's doing. Jeannie R is burning more oil than she should. Probably due to the fact that she pulled that wire off earlier on the heat sensor. These engines are kind of funny. We'll see if we can find somebody to take a look at it when we get to dock tonight.
This is the Kentucky State Penitentiary in Eddyville, Kentucky. Oh, excuse me, I'm in Kentucky. It's called Edible here.
Well, here we are at Green Turtle Bay. Our first night out, and quite probably the most important event of any day's run is getting ready to take place in just a minute. That is the traditional gin and tonic, tall, made with Tanqueray. Hey Chief, you got my gin and tonic ready?
Sitting right there on the boat, Cap.
There we go. Well, one of the real big problems with boating is the terrible places that you have to stay at night just to be able to get a good night's sleep. Taking showers on almost primitive-like bathrooms, practically sleeping on the riverbank. Views that, well, would bore anybody. But I guess I can live with it. Well, it's our second morning, and the weather looks like it's going to be at least as good as it was before. What's that? Yeah, we've already lost my food bag. We ate so good last night, drinking grape juice since there's no wine in this part of the country. I got all drunked up on grape juice and forgot my food bag. Sitting at the above the Barkley Lock, and the Jeannie R is a little farther ahead of us here. We're waiting on a towboat to come out of the lock chamber, and then they'll lock us down. We're at mile marker 30 at this point in time, which means we got about 30 more miles of Cumberland River before we hit the mouth of the Cumberland, which empties into the Ohio River. We'll go around Towhead Island and start upstream then on the Ohio. The very first thing we'll do is lock through the Smithland Lock, and then we'll head on up the Ohio River. Tonight we'll be in Evansville, Indiana, where we have accommodations for the night and a place to dock the boat. This is another one of those deep locks that kind of surprised some of the folks coming down the old Mississippi River. or the Ohio River when they hit here. About 58 feet of drop between where we're at here and the pool below. So, you know, looks like a canyon when you get ready to leave. Those folks coming upstream enter the lock. They're usually utterly amazed at how high the walls are because they see it empty first. Since we're going downstream, that means we're southbound. Southbound is a term used for going downstream when northbound is a term used for going upstream. Now, actually we're going north even though we're southbound. Being south of the Ohio River, we have to go north to get to it. But since we're going downstream, even though we're actually going north, we are southbound. You see these markers as we drive along. This one's green, could be black. This indicates that we need to be on the left of this marker if we're going downstream. This is called a can. The red ones we run into from time to time are called nuns. They got a point on the top. They're easier to distinguish from a distance by their shape than they are by their color. But the red nuns are going to be on our right as long as we're going downstream. The little saying that helps you remember is red right returning. That is, if you're going upstream, you would keep the red on the right. Or if you were returning to land or something of that nature, red right returning helps you remember to keep the red on the right if you're returning. We won't be returning until a little later this morning when we hit the Ohio River, and then we'll be going upstream and we'll keep the red ones on the right. Some other interesting river jargon is the banks. In other words, the bank to our right as we're going downstream is the right bank. Makes sense. However, if we were going upstream and that bank was on our left, it would still be the right bank, because the right side of the river and the left side of the river is always viewed from facing downstream. The Barkley Pool, or Barkley Lake, runs parallel and just to the east of Kentucky Lake. And just right around that point there is a channel or canal that connects the two lakes together. Both Barkley and Kentucky are the biggest lakes of the TVA system. And since they're connected, they both have the same water level. All these lakes, of course, were designed for flood control, and they started building them back in the late 20s, I think, or at least into the 30s. But both Barkley and Kentucky Lake are the biggest lakes and hold the most water. As you run around in this part of the country, you have easy access to the two lakes by going through the canal. Kentucky Lake has a lock and dam that leads out of the Kentucky Lake on the Tennessee River to the Ohio River, about 20 miles south of where we're going to come out on the Ohio River. Both of these lakes are fairly rough if there's any wind at all. They, particularly the Kentucky Lake, but Barkley certainly as well, they lie into the wind a lot of times, and so that the wind can blow against the current. It piles the current up. I've been through this country in this boat when the waves were so steep that it would literally hide my boat while I was in between the valleys or the waves, in between the swells. A lot of crappie fishing up in this neck of the woods. Barkley Lake's known for its crappie fishing. Kentucky Lake is known for its striped bass fishing. They have some big striped bass tournaments down here every year. Still waiting on the lock here at Barkley to open up for us. Once we get down through this, we'll be running down a very narrow portion of the Cumberland. And then when we hit the Ohio River, the first point of interest will be our gas stop at Cave and Rock. There's something that you see a lot of down here, a mussel boat. This particular one is the kind that drags for the mussels. You see those chains hanging down there, and they drag the bottom for the mussels. Mussels are used mostly for the pearl that's in them, in the shells. I think Japan buys a lot of it. The other way to mussel down here is to mussel by scuba diving. You actually go down to the bottom and feel around and gather them up. But particularly on the Kentucky Lake, you see a lot of mussel boats. We're in the Barkley lock chamber now, being locked down. Actually, we're turned around backwards in here. We should be docked over there on that wall, aimed the other direction, because that's the way that we're going to be going out. But there was a willow fly infestation in here, and when we pulled over there on the shady side, the willow flies just climbed all over us, so we decided to turn around and come over on this side of the lock where it was less willow flies, but unfortunately where the sun is shining, and it's mighty hot out here today. Willow flies are little critters that climb out of the water. I guess they're I guess the larva hatches out in the water, but I have seen them so thick in this part of the country when they start hatching out that they will cover over a boat, and you can't even see the sides of the boat. They look like a bee swarm, just the shape of the boat, but solid willow flies. They won't hurt you. They actually get on you and hang off your nose or your ears or anywhere, and if you don't see them, it's pretty hard to tell they're on you. Just the one on you?
Yeah, it was away.
The other one flew away. Well, you got lucky, didn't you? They'll just hang right on you. Sit there and ride around as long as you leave them. I've seen people sitting in chairs reading papers with willow flies hanging all over them. And I guess as long as they don't get in their mouth or their eyes, they don't pay much attention to them. We're underway again. We're departing the Barkley Lock, and going to be heading down the old Cumberland River to its mouth. We'll be able to see here that the river is quite a bit narrower than the lake above us. There's our first none, indicating the state of the left, since we're still going downstream. Past the lock. We'll be able to get some speed up. Next stop will be Smithland. Smithland Lock. There we can see the tailwater and the dam itself below. There's always fishermen out here. They say this is the place to fish. Tailwaters of any dam. Okay, we're going to head right under that bridge. Genie R is waiting patiently for us to kick the engines in, and away we go. Okay, we're looking at the mouth of the Cumberland River now. The Ohio River is right out there. That's Smithland Lock and Dam. But we're going to have to go around Cumberland Island, which is right here, all the way up through there and around before we can get over there. Cumberland is fairly clear compared to the muddy Ohio. And here's where the waters are coming together. You can just see it, just like a line in the water, you can see it. Did you see that guy hold that fish up we passed way back there in the Cumberland? No. I'm telling you what, it had to have been a bass, but he was holding it down on his side with his arm straight, and the tail was curled up on the ground, on his boat below him. And I kept looking at it. I didn't think it could be a bass. I mean a fish. But when he saw me, he took both hands and raised it up. It was as long as his leg. I mean, it was a trophy. I thought it was a big old catfish, but it looked like a bass. Big mouth, shaped like a cat, like a bass. He was proud of it. Yeah, he was proud of it. Well, we're holding here at the Smithland Lock, and they're going to take us down, or take us up as soon as we get a towboat out of the chamber.
You have to raise us up.
The chambers here are actually double. You've got what they call a riverward chamber and a landward chamber. Landward chamber today is actually being maintained. They've got a maintenance crew in there, and you can see the work barge that right here that the Army Corps of Engineers have put here. So they're doing maintenance on the landward chamber, so we won't be using that today. The riverward chamber is operational, and I expect we'll be another half hour before we get in there. Anyway, it's time now to take a break while we're waiting on this lock to open up. Fix ourselves some sandwiches. It's almost noon. Looks to me like the cook's eating food faster than she's fixing it. What's that?
I said, if you don't put the damn thing up, I'm going to kill you.
Why? Are you having fun?
No.
It's pretty hot out here in the sun.
Listen, you top.
What? You said something? There's my sandwich anyway. Well, we're looking at Evansville. Here on the right bank of the Ohio River. The Ohio River's been really, really rough today. Practically no way to maintain our speed, although we haven't done too bad. We're going to go just on the other side of the city here where our marina is, and that's where we'll spend the night tonight. Well, it's Thursday morning, our first week, and we're in Evansville, Indiana, having spent the night here. We've decided to go on this morning, but only after Reggie secures a little bit of maintenance. We can see him there on the phone. Seems that the oil problem, the oil consumption problem that he's got is caused from a hole in the BOR pump diaphragm. And he's trying to get somebody to come down here to the marina and make the repair.
Well, I don't know, darling. After they told me they couldn't do it and I wouldn't hang up, insisted on being saved. I didn't want to insist on them hurrying up. I thought the best thing I could do would just be to be appreciative.
Well, as soon as Reggie gets the mechanic down here and we get his pump replaced, we'll be heading out again downstream on the Ohio. About 7 miles above us here is, that is upstream on the Ohio, we'll be heading. About 7 miles above us here, we'll be picking up the Green River off on the left bank, which of course will be on our right, going upstream. We'll run up the Green a little ways and see what we can see, and then we'll be heading back to here again for more fuel, and then we'll go on upstream to Owensboro. Well, it would appear that our mechanic has arrived, so we'll see what happens now.
I connected back.
The mechanic finished up with Reggie's boat engine, and we departed Evansville. We're running up the Green River now. Pretty river, reminds me a lot of some of the smaller rivers we've run up before. Lay of the land here is a lot flatter than it is up or down in Tennessee, up the Cumberland. The amount of time we lost back at dock working on Reggie's engine will cost us a little bit, and so we're not going to be able to come up as far as we would like to in the Green, but we'll run up here about 20 miles or so and then come on back and head for Owensboro, where we'll spend our night tonight on the Ohio River.
I must apologize for the quality of this tape. Starting about 4 minutes ago, it seems the tape and the camera are having some problems. It gets better with the next real, but bear with us here and we'll get through the some of this jerky film.
We've made it to the 30.9 mile marker on the Green River, and that's about as far as we can go today without more fuel or more daylight. And there's old Hill showing off as usual. Probably feeling good about his motor now that he's got it all fixed. Well, it's a pretty river, isn't it? I don't think he can hear me over his motor. Look at him looking at it. I'm not sure he thinks it's any good yet. Well, it's a pretty river, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Wish we had time to run it a little farther.
Yeah. About 30 miles up, 30 miles back.
Well, all right, let's get out of here. Head back to the Ohio River and northbound. In this case, we'll be northbound on the Ohio River. Going upstream, we'll go through the Newburgh Lock, and then we'll stay at Owensboro tonight. We're waiting at Lock 1 here on the Green River for the lockmaster to come down and open the gates for us. Haven't seen any traffic at all on the river except a fishing boat or two. One of the things about a river like this, you have to be really careful. You'll notice out there, it just looks like more river. No indication that there's much of anything wrong. But between us and the bank over there is a dam, even though you can't see it. And to get out into that water would cause you to go over the dam. It's probably about 8 to 10 feet tall. The water runs over the top of the dam, so you can't see it. You got to be real careful about that on these rivers. You run up, if you don't pay any attention, miss the lock, and run down beside the lock, you could go right over the dam. Well, there's the dam that we was looking at from the other side that you couldn't see. See how that water just slips right over the top edge of the dam? All that white stuff at the bottom is water running over the dam. And that wouldn't be any fun going across there with a boat. You can't see it coming downstream. What we're looking at here is a railroad bridge. It's a swing bridge. A lot of these old bridges built across these rivers are not high enough for the towboats and bigger cruisers to get under. So they have to devise a way to raise them or turn them or do something. These swing bridges actually turn. They pivot right there in the center and swing the whole span, the center span, turning it on the center pivot so that you can pass beside it. The little house that you see up on top is where the bridge master stays and surveys the river. He can be contacted by radio at any rate when a vessel needs the bridge swung, while he swings it from up there. Get an idea now, the bridge you see would pivot there in the center, and so when it was open it would lay on top of this support that we're going by right now. So the bridge would be lined up and laying parallel and on top of this support here. And then we would be able to pass through either side here without the bridge being in the way. We're in the Cannelton Lock on the Ohio River. We're on the Indiana side. This is the small chamber. There's a larger chamber toward the river, or to our left as we're looking here. The sounds you hear are these floating bits, mooring bits, as they rise up in their track as the water is filling in the chamber. This chamber probably needs to be serviced. They grease the track so they don't make that noise, but even the door seals aren't as good as they should be, indicating that this chamber is probably ready for some service. People are always asking if it costs anything to go through these locks or raise the bridges or whatever you need to continue your navigation. The answer is yes. It's very, very expensive. Fortunately, you, the taxpayer, is paying the bill. Us mariners, we can go through free. Louisville, Kentucky, or Louisville, depending on whether you're from here or not. We just made it through the McAlpin Lock, which is a busy lock, but we made it through very quickly. Anyway, these are the bridges. You're looking at I-65 bridge going across the Ohio River from Indiana to Kentucky. If you've ever been across these bridges, you might have looked off toward the west and saw what looked like a fountain right in the middle of the river. This is the fountain, except that it's not flowing today. Maybe it'll be flowing when we come back. Madison, Indiana, our next stop for tonight. We're sitting at Lock 1 on the Kentucky River. Real old lock. The lockmaster's just come down and he's getting ready to open the gate. We don't know yet whether he's dumping water or just what. This lock is still operated by the Corps of Engineers. But when we get on up to Lock 5 and Lock 6, those locks will be handled by the state of Kentucky, opened only on request. Some of these locks were built back before the 1900s. Okay, he wants us to hang off this ladder. We'll try to get some bumpers out. All secure in here. We've been tossed ropes before over the edge of the lock wall by the lockmaster up in the upper Mississippi. Just a matter of holding on. However, these folks didn't throw us a rope, so we're just kind of stuck here hanging onto a ladder, and we'll work our way up this ladder as he raises the water. dumping water literally from this other end. And you can see the swirl of water, which is eventually going to grab a hold of us here and make it hard to stay along the wall. It's one of the reasons I wanted to get the bumpers out. But these are indeed what you call operated by hand. Well, we're in the second lock going up the Kentucky River, and these locks don't have ropes or anything. Basically, they send down a hook, and you can put your rope over the hook, and finally you end up taking the rope up. They pull the rope up to the top of the wall and hook it over an eye, and then away you go. That's one way to fill the lock chamber, I'll tell you. Just open up a trap door and let it flow in. Trees and Jeannie R. and myself are heading out now. Joanne and I heading up for the last lock of the Kentucky River, lock 6, and then we'll be starting through the Palisades portion of the river, which should be very, very pretty.
You see that old plantation house up on your garden coming up?
Where at? About there? Oh, up here?
Long back down the
Yeah, I think we did. We talked about that. That's a pretty thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, it looks. I was gonna take stop and take a picture of that. You see people swimming for waterfalls coming down there?
Yeah, we're gonna. I thought I'd try to get a picture of that when we get back there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it sure is pretty up here, isn't it?
Oh, gorgeous. First river we've ever seen.
Gorgeous, gorgeous river. We're about 125 miles up from the Ohio at this point.
Is that right?
Yeah. This is called the Palisades area. It's called Palisades because of the limestone formations, sheer cliffs of limestone that tower 2 and 3 and even 400 feet above the river. Well, we're departing the Kentucky River this morning. Actually, it's about noon, Sunday. And we're about 3 miles from the mouth of the Kentucky River, where it empties into the Ohio. We'll be turning right on the Ohio River upstream, heading toward Markland Dam and Cincinnati, where we will spend the night tonight. Well, we're looking at Cincinnati over here in the distance. It's very, very rough. We're about 20 minutes out of our marina that we'll spend the night at. Washington on one side, Kentucky, and Ohio on the other side. It's Monday morning, our first Monday out, and at the end of today we will have marked 1 week of river travel. This is the Four Seas Marina in Cincinnati, probably one of the most well-known marinas on any river. Some of the biggest boats in the area are docked here. Ironically, most of these boats never get more than 20 miles away from this marina. Folks use them to party on, to impress their friends, or just sit and relax at the dock. Take them out on a Saturday or Sunday and run them a little bit and then bring them back and tie them up. However, there would be some in here who are world travelers, and there's certainly boats in here capable of world traveling. Yesterday, Sunday, was really rough because a lot of these boats are out on the water and they do kick up a lot of wake. We're hoping that today, being Monday, will be a quiet day on the river. It's supposed to be a little cooler, and we're looking forward to that. Should be a pretty area when we leave here. We're going to be running up through Coney Island, the old Coney Island area, and River Downs. We'll do about 160 miles today, 3 locks, and we'll end up at Gallipolis. This is the old Coney Island. I remember along in here somewhere there was probably a old wooden dock, because the Island Queen used to come down from Cincinnati and dock here to let people go to Coney Island. I recall as a boy taking a trolley car down to that boat, and we took the boat down the river to Coney Island. Island Queen, I think its name was, but I'm not sure. At any rate, it burned. Burned many years ago. Coney Island, of course, was the amusement park of the Cincinnati area, A lot of the rides were dismantled and taken to Kings Island, where they reside now. But Coney Island still operates. They built a new Moonlight Gardens or Starlight Gardens, whatever the name of it is. You can see it from the highway. We're sitting at the Robert C. Byrd lock on the Ohio River at mile marker about 270, something along in there. Robert C. Byrd is the newest lock on the Ohio River. It was opened January of this year, 1993. Earlier I said that locks are very expensive, at least to the taxpayer. This lock cost $224 million to build. It's a little bit similar to the Alpine lock in as much as it sits in a canal off of the main river. But it takes the place of the old lock at Gallipolis, Ohio, which was a small lock and took a lot of time to get towboats through. It was originally designed to lock through the older style towboats, but the newer style towboats would typically take 2 and 3 lockages in order to get through that lock, and therefore created quite a traffic jam. So they solved that, and the price was $224 million. This is Tuesday morning, and we're at the mouth of the Kanawha River. The Kanawha River. It's we're going to take the Kanawha River up to Charleston today. Charleston, West Virginia. Should be a pretty river. 30 miles of flat land, and then we'll be going through West Virginia mountains. 90 mile of river up and back, 180 miles round trip. It's a foggy day this morning, but the fog has started to lift. So I think we're going to have a quiet, not too hot day. Tomorrow morning we'll return back to here and head on upstream on the Ohio River. Hey, golly, he's done traded me out of my hat.
That's good looking hat. One other requirement. You got to wear that to bed at night and surprise your wife.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
After we're done with it, I
He'll
want
never get any more. You know that, don't you?
Look at Jim over there looking.
We just passed through the Winfield locks on our way up to Marmet locks, which is at Charleston, West Virginia. Back at the Winfield lock, my hat made quite a stir. One of the Corps of Engineers guys wanted to trade me out of it. Kind of hated to do it, but he made me an awful good deal. He gave me his hat off his head. This is a Corps of Engineers hat. I don't know how hard that is to come by, but now I have one. A little sweaty, but then I managed to get him to sweeten the kitty with a rain hat, which I don't have, and it's even dirtier, but kind of hated to lose my hat. We heard that his wife and son had been involved in an automobile accident about 3 or 4 years ago, and she was killed, and he was left a quadriplegic. So I guess I'm really glad now that I gave my hat to him, because he said his son would really fit with it. We'll be going on up to Marmet. They say that one of the chambers are down, which may mean we'll have quite a delay up there, I don't know. But we'll see what we can do. Well, Thursday morning finds us departing the Charleston, West Virginia Boat Club docks. Charleston is just below us here as we head back downstream on the Kanawha River. Kanawha River wasn't as scenic as we had hoped. We didn't go all the way to the very end. One of the locks had one of the chambers down, and the delay was extensive, so we spent the afternoon and evening in Charleston, went shopping, bought some exotic coffee pots, some new coffees, had dinner last night, went to bed early, and now we're ready to go. Marietta, Ohio is the next point of putting in. We'll be traveling the Kanawha River down through one lock and hit the Ohio, and then move upstream or on the Ohio through 3 other locks, and then our lodging for tonight. We're at the Winfield locks, where we came through yesterday. Kind of busy this morning. I don't know how long we're going to wait. Got some towboat traffic. Even have a showboat, tall stacks. West Virginia Belle. She's hanging off of a towboat, waiting on her turn. According to the rules, passenger boats for hire get first opportunity to lock through. Then comes the towboats, second priority, and finally pleasure craft. However, most locks try to work pleasure craft through every 3rd or 4th lockage, so they don't hold us up too long, as a rule. If you have a radio on board, that helps a lot. Taking off from Best Western Hotel down at Marietta, going up the Muskegon River. We've got ourselves at lock 2, which is the first lock on the river. These are very old locks, taken over from the Corps of Engineers in 1958. They're operated by the state of Ohio. You have to get special permission to do these things, except on weekends. These are truly hand-operated locks. And we're going to go up as far as we can today and enjoy some of yesterday's locks. This is a very important river in its heyday, but today it's strictly pleasure craft. No coal or anything being carried on it. It has no commercial value whatsoever. Above the gate on the right. Walking around and around. Quite different from yesterday. From yesterday when we went to the fancy locks on the Ohio River where they push a button and the gates open up automatically. Motion doesn't go in.
Okay, give me the camera.
These old locks are before the turn of the century locks. You can see them up there cranking up the gates. It's going to start spilling the water in. These water doors, if you please, or shutters, are at the bottom of the sill. You see the water starting to come forward now. He's cranked the water. He's cranked the sills, the shutters open at the bottom of the sills, and the water is now flowing into the chamber. The principle is exactly the same as any of the other locks we've went through. The only difference is this one is all by manpower. On the Kentucky River, we saw the same vintage locks, and again, they were considered hand operated, but they had electric motors to raise the shutters, and they had an electric motor to open the gate. It was sort of electrified, if you please. The hand operated tools were still there, but they were just electrified. All right. Well, our lockmaster's name is Mike, and he's going to be running all the way with us, he said. So we're going to head up the next lock here in a few moments as soon as he gets the gate open. And it'll be about 15 minutes getting up there. It'll be about how long it'll take him as well, I would guess. Mike tells us these are truly the last hand-operated, really hand-operated locks left in the United States. You can see the lock walls are not made of poured concrete. They're made of cut rock and placed in here many years ago. There are 11 locks in the whole system. We won't be able to get through them all today, but the construction began in 1837, which is one of the largest capital improvement undertakings of the state of Ohio at that point in time. Yes. Did it? Reg is telling me that Grain X is a great product for the windshields, but not for the plastic and the clear plastic and the canvases. This project cost $1.6 million, and by the time it was finished in 1841. The Corps of Engineers had the operation of the locks in 1887. Gave it to the Ohio Department of Natural Resources in 1958. There was a ceremony at that time to commemorate the Ohio State taking over the management of the river and the locks. You can see the gates coming open up there. You can stand up if you want. There you go. Notice, let me take it. Notice he's literally cranking that gate open like an old mule. Okay, we can go. Okay, I'll get the ropes off here. see the water's pulling underneath the and around the gate doors, the lock doors. When he opens the shutters on this end, this time the water pours in from above the water level, kind of like it did down in the Kentucky River. So you'll see that that water start to come out from under the gates there at a more rigorous rate here in a few moments. You can see the shutters. You look at the left, a little square indentions, 2 on the left and 2 on the right behind Reggie's boat. When he starts cranking those open, you'll see the water start pouring out. Bursting forth. Here comes the turbulence. Well, we're up at the top now, getting ready to go on through. Our lockmaster's waiting on the water to equalize. I've seen mules didn't have to work that hard. Cranking open the gate. And notice that Reggie and Jean doesn't have on their life vests. Actually, I forgot to put mine on this time, and Joanne forgot to put hers on the last time. I don't think they're sticklers about that up here. Some places really are very adamant about that. Rules do require you to wear them. Okay, gates open, just about, and we'll be shoving off, heading on up to the next lock. This is the canal that's leading out of that lock we just went through. It runs along here for, I guess, 3/4 of a mile before we get back to the river. Well, we're in lock 5, and kind of looks like he's having difficulty getting the doors to go all the way shut. See the crack there between the doors. River's pleasant, very pleasant river. Might be fun to meander all the way up someday. But today I think we're probably going to start heading back for too long so we can enjoy some of the sights in Marietta. kick the water in. So I would have to guess that the plan here is to start the chamber filling and see if the water pressure will close the door behind us. Looks like that's about what happened. The door is closed. Looks like we got some little baby ducks over there. Not real happy with being separated from mommy wherever she is. We're looking at lock 6, which is the last lock that we'll see. We're actually not going to go through this lock. We'll be turning back around and meet Mike back at the last lock, lock 5, that we went through just a few minutes ago. And head on down to Marietta again and spend the afternoon looking around the town. We're here at Lock 4 on the Muskegon River, and we're starting down the chamber. Really quite simple the way these things work. We've got a winch, which you can see right there, and that winch simply winches that top rod that you see running right across there, winches it toward the wall or toward the winch, and when that rod pulls toward the wrench, it raises the vertical rods that you see going down the wall. Those vertical rods then raise up, which opens the shutters at the bottom of the gate and allows the water to run out. We've just gone through the New Cumberland lock on the Ohio River. We're at about mile marker 55 or 60, somewhere along in there right now. We'll be seeing Pittsburgh tomorrow. We're going to spend the night up here about another 20 miles. Had a lot of fun going through this lock. Lockmaster spied my Corps of Engineers hat and thought I worked on a lock somewhere. Came right over to talk to me. Don't know when I've seen a bridge underneath a power plant before. A tunnel underneath the power plant. Well, there it is. The headwaters of the Ohio River. What you're looking at there is Pittsburgh skyline. We've got the Monongahela going there, and off to our left is the Alleghany. The two forms the river Ohio. We'll be going up the Alleghany today. See what kind of scenery we can find. Spend the night up about 40-50 miles up. We've run into a canoe race here on the Alleghany River. Water Patrol has asked us to stay on this side of the river and not make a wake. So that's what we're doing. One of the dams on the Alleghany River. This is about lock number 4 that we're getting ready to go through. Obviously we're downstream looking up. We can see the dam. Coming the other way we'll have to watch because these dams are real hard to see coming downstream. Generally they put danger buoys up, but not always. We're at the 52-mile mark at Alleghany River, and we've come to the end of our journey, or our farthest point. We're going to start back now. Tonight we'll spend the night in Catania, Pennsylvania, and tomorrow night we're going to spend in Pittsburgh, which isn't all that far away. The Alleghany is a pretty river, rolling hills, mountains, I guess. But I suspect that I would choose the Kentucky River as being the prettiest river that we've seen so far. And the truth be known, the hardest river to beat is the good old Cumberland, where we live, particularly in the upper end. It's Sunday morning and we've done the Alleghany. We're headed back down the Alleghany now, heading toward the Ohio River and the Monongahela River. We're going to spend the night tonight in Pittsburgh. This is our last lock on the Alleghany, and we've hit a little commercial traffic this morning, so we're having to wait. What we're looking at here basically is a barge that was bigger than the lock. So the towboat, or the tug, had to push the load or the barges into the lock and then back out of the lock. He's still down below. Now the lock hands and the deck hands are busy winching or pulling this load of coal out of the lock, which time they'll close the gates, drop the water back down, go down and get the tug, bring him up, he'll attach back on, and then he'll be on his way. These small locks quite often have to lock through in stages of that nature. Not at all unusual to do 3 or 4 stages sometimes on these smaller locks. Well, he's finally came out. He's on his way. Now we can go in. I just heard the whistle. We've just tied up here and went up and enjoyed a little bit of the National Rib and Music Festival, which is downtown Pittsburgh today. To move on toward the Mon River, which is right over there. And we'll take a little look-see at the Mon River, and then we're going to spend the night in Pittsburgh at one of the better hotels. My kind of river travel. Well, we're back to Three Rivers, Pittsburgh. Enjoying the fountain. We've just done the Monongahela, better known as the Mon River. Somewhere in this city is the Vista Hotel. And we're going to stay there tonight. It would appear that the people just like to sit and float here at Three Rivers. Here in downtown Pittsburgh. They just bring their boat, stop out here in front of the fountain, and sit and enjoy. Three Rivers, Ohio River, Monongahela, and Alleghany. Tomorrow, we'll head right down there. That's where the Ohio River starts. The Alleghany and Monongahela form the Ohio River right here at this spot. And tomorrow we'll start down 935 miles of Ohio River to the Cumberland, where we'll turn toward Tennessee. Monday morning. Just entered the Ohio River, and this is the Emsworth lock. And they're pretty well backed up, so we're holding off here. Lockmaster had suggested maybe a couple hours. The Sandy Drake's going into the chamber now, and there is just a possibility that they'll take us in with the Sandy Drake. He's carrying coal, which means it's not dangerous cargo, and he's too wide and too long, so there's a crack or two in there that they could fit us in. So we may get lucky here and get on through. Got 3 of these locks that's small before we get back to the big locks with the floating bits. These small locks are only 600 foot deep, and this particular lock has got a small auxiliary, but the auxiliary is not operational today. So he's got towboats backed up clear up the river. Well, it's Wednesday morning, and we just spent the night in Huntington, West Virginia. We're heading downriver to Louisville today. Unusual turn of events, unexpected. The absence of Jeannie R., Reggie and Jean Hill. They've got some unexpected news at home and had to terminate their trip in Marietta. So they stored the Jeannie R. in a marina. They'll come back and get her in a couple of weeks. So Joanne and I are continuing on downriver and maintaining schedule. We should be home on Saturday. Could have been twin spaceships, but only a pipeline going across the river. Harvey's on the river, billed as a floating resort and a famous dog restaurant. At least it's famous according to Harvey. Put in a fairly long day today, coming down from Huntington, West Virginia. We're just a little north or a little upstream from Louisville. We'll hit Louisville tomorrow in about 30 minutes. It's Thursday morning, and we're in Louisville, getting ready to head on down to Evansville this morning. We're going through the McAlpin locks. There's that water fountain we saw coming up, but wasn't spurting any water then. We said before, you can see this from the highway when you're driving the I-65 bridge across the Ohio River from Indiana to Kentucky. Two ghosts and a leader. Somewhere we've passed these folks before. Considering the fact that they're in the canal to the lock and that this is restricted water, they're only allowed to be in here if you're going through the lock. I believe these folks plan on going through the lock. If they can get there with me, they may go through with me. Well, we're down here at the McAlpin locks, and it looks to me like maybe they're just using the one big chamber, so a little bit of a delay, although we're going to go in right after this traffic comes through. A little different situation here where they have a bridge that actually goes across the lock, and it has to be raised if the traffic coming out is too tall. Gates are open and the bridge is going up. Another pleasure craft going through with us, and a couple guys on a canoe. I think there's another guy around here on a canoe somewhere. I guess we'll all four go together. Well, they call this Cave-in Rock. We passed this, of course, on the way upriver. Quite historical. The pirates actually lived in here, the river pirates, and would sneak out and raid the boats, cargo boats, and the tall stack paddle wheelers that would come up the river. Cave-in Rock is the only gasoline, for the most part, on this area of the Ohio, so almost everyone stops here for gas. It's just a little bitty dock, but they've had gas for many years. And I remember more than 20 years ago buying gas as we come down through here for a small pontoon houseboat. We're going to leave the Ohio River here shortly. We're going to buy gas here at Cave-in Rock, and then we're going to go on down through Smithlin Lock. Then we'll turn into the Cumberland, the very river we came out of 17 days ago. Tomorrow, close to noon, I suspect, we'll be pulling into the cabins in Nashville. 4 turns. Made it. Well, that was the Camden Queen. She entertained us with a little make-believe calliope music, and we're glad to see her because we've been sitting in this lock for almost an hour waiting on her to paddle up here. Passenger ships, of course, have the first right in a lock, so they just kept this lock open and been waiting while she paddled downstream and got here. Well, we're completing our trip up the Ohio River. We're back down in the Cumberland. Home is just around the bend. We're going to be tying up after 3,200 miles. 76 locks, up and back. When we left here, we dropped down about 145 feet to the lower pool of the Ohio River, using locks to do that. From there, we raised all the way up to about the 800-foot mark, or a little over 500 feet, going north on the Ohio River, using locks all the way up. Of course, coming back down, then we dropped back to the 300-foot mark on the lower Ohio River, and today we've come up the Cumberland, back up about 145 feet to our home elevation. Good after 18 days. Of course, GDR's missing. Like the kids are down, they're going to play with the pontoon boat, I guess. It's good to be home. First time I ever had a welcoming committee on one of these trips.
We got out 5 minutes earlier, you wouldn't.
I knew you guys would be here. I knew you would be here. Lee said something about being on the river by noon. I thought, no.
One of the weight buses is dead.
Yeah.
I think we cracked it. I think the head's cracked. There's water in the cylinder.